Om Ajnana-timirandasya Gnananjana-shalakaya Chakshurunmilitamena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Thapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Shabhanusute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shadvaita Gatara Shivasati Gauravaktavrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So Bhagavad Gita chapter 8, Attaining the Supreme, Akshara Brahma Yoga. Before we begin, let's pay our obeisances to Sri Radha Govinda and Srila Prabhupada. Whatever we understand will be because of their mercy. Okay. So this is what we did in chapter 7. Knowledge of the Absolute. In the very first verse, Krishna said, hearing about him is very important. So in the first 3 verses, knowing Krishna in full by hearing about him. Hearing reveals knowledge about Krishna's material and spiritual energies. He said there are 8 separated energies of Krishna: earth, water, air, ether, fire, mind, intelligence, and false ego. And Krishna said we can remember him and perceive him through these energies. We are all covered by illusion. Because of this, we cannot see the reality. It's not easy to either realize God or, practice so easily. But the only way we can progress is by chanting and by hearing. The three modes are controlled by Krishna. Therefore, we surrender. Everything is coming from Krishna. Everything is emanating from Krishna. He's the controller of the 3 modes. So he is not under the control of these 3 modes. So we have to surrender. The impious lack knowledge and never surrender to Krishna. The pious develop knowledge and surrender. 4 types of pious people surrender to Krishna. Artho Artharthi, Jnani and Jignasu. Distressed, a desirer of wealth, and then inquisitive. Like the sages in Naimisharanya. And then one who is looking for knowledge of the absolute, like the Kumaras. They surrender. There are 4 types of impious people who never surrender. They are called Mudhas, the foolish, and the lowest and uncivilized people, Naradhamas. Mudhas, Naradhamas. And then we have Maya Krita Jnana, means scholars who are misguided by illusion. And then there are atheists. They're open atheists, like Asuram Bhavam Ashritaha. We know many of them from Bhagavatam. So these kind of people do not surrender. The bewilderment of the living entity and his freedom through knowledge of Krishna. And also he spoke about Brahman and many things. So now Arjuna wants to know the answers for all this. He'll ask, what is Brahman? What is Kim Karma? Kim Adhyatma? What is Karma? What is Adi Deva? He'll ask all these questions. What is Adi Bhuta? He'll ask so many questions. And Krishna will answer. He'll ask questions. Krishna will answer 7 questions within the first 4 verses. All the answers for the 7 questions are given in the first 4 verses only. And the last question, he answers throughout the chapter. So remembering Krishna at the time of death, remembering Krishna, practice remembrance through meditation. So these are the answers given by Krishna. Pure devotional service. So Krishna is going to talk about pure devotional service, remembrance of Krishna through bhakti, comparing the material and spiritual worlds, glories of the supreme abode, the supremacy of devotion in attaining the supreme. That is in the 23 to 28 verses, the supremacy of devotion in attaining the supreme. So bhakti yoga, throughout Bhagavad Gita, actually Krishna is giving us hints, and at the end it becomes very clear that only through bhakti we can achieve Krishna, attain Krishna's lotus feet. So, and he also says, whoever remembers me at the time of death will attain my spiritual nature, his nature. We will not come back to this material world and suffer again and again. We will not do that. And then he says, Jnanis and yogis, they attain liberation. Their path is different, the path of light. And karmis, what they do, they elevate themselves to the higher planets, but they come back to this world again. Unless and until these people reach the stage of pure devotional service, they cannot attain Krishna. And the bhakta will quit this material world, and then actually, in this pure bhakti, he actually goes to Krishna's abode. So let's see. Let's discuss one verse at a time. Krishna's answers to Arjuna's question. So he's asking, Arjuna inquired, "Oh my Lord, O Supreme Person." See how he is calling him. He's addressing him as my Lord, O Supreme Person. What is Brahman? What is the self? What are fruitive activities? What is the material manifestation? And what are the demigods? Please explain this to me. So Lord explains karma means fruitive activities. Okay. And Shuddha Bhakti is devotional service in pure form. That's what it is. And then he's asking, what is Brahman? Brahman is the living entity, the individual soul. That is called Brahman. And there is this word called the Atma mentioned in this verse. Atma here refers to body, soul, mind, and sometimes, according to Vedic dictionary, Atma can mean senses also. It depends on the context. How the word Atma is used in that verse. Based on that, the meaning can change. So, Arjuna also addresses him as Purushottama, O Supreme Person. That means he is making it very clear for everyone that he is not asking this question to anyone ordinary. Krishna is not just a friend right now, he is a spiritual master. And he's saying this is a supreme authority who has all the perfect answers for all the questions. He wants to make that clear. That's why he's saying that. And then he says, who is the Lord of sacrifice? Lord of sacrifice could be Vishnu or Indra, who is the chief of all the administrative demigods. But Vishnu is the benefactor of all the sacrifices. And then because Vishnu is the chief of all the primal demigods, including Brahma and Shiva also. Then he asks about Lord of sacrifice, and then he says, where does it reside? Where does it reside? Within the body. Where do you find this? Lord of Yagna. So where do you find him? You find him in the heart. He resides right along with the soul. Then he also calls him Madhusudana. You know, in this verse is not here. But in the verse he says Madhusudana. Why is he calling him Madhusudana? Because Krishna killed the demon Madhu. So just like how these doubts are arising in me, just like how you killed the demon Madhu, please clear all these doubts from me, make sure all these doubts are gone from me. That's why he calls him Madhusudana. And then he says Prayana Kale, that word is there. Prayana Kale means at the time of death. So whatever we do all through our life will be tested at the time of death. Arjuna is very anxious to know, about all this. So he's asking what will happen at the final moment. So see, the thing is, Prayana Kale, what we should do, we are supposed to think about Krishna, but it is not easy because at the time of death, it seems death is very painful. Just like birth is painful, death is also painful. All the bodily functions will get messed up. We may not be able to talk, choking, and we may be on lying down. Our hands may not be moving. We may not be able to hold the japa beads, bags, anything. And if people are around us trying to talk to us, we may not be able to respond also. So what do? We have to remember. Krishna says, just remember me. That's enough. With our mind, our mind inside, we can think about him. And then this very beautiful example of Maharaj Kulashekara. Prabhupada writes that in the purport. Kulashekara is actually praying to Lord Krishna. He's saying, now my mind is undisturbed. I'm healthy. I can actually think about you. I better die now immediately and achieve your, lotus feet. Then, I don't know what will happen at the time of death. So why can't I die now, when I'm fine and I can actually think about you. So that's what Maharaj Kulashekara says. And then Krishna says, he asks, Arjuna also asks, how can a person fix his mind on Krishna's feet at such a critical time? He asks these questions. And Arjuna will ask, and Krishna will actually help him with all this. How does this Lord of sacrifice live in the body? And in which part does he live? Oh, Madhusudana, yeah, it's here. And how can those engaged in devotional service know you at the time of death. So, can someone recite these verses? Hare Krishna. Anjali Mataji, it's usually Anjali Mataji who recites. Anyone else wants to recite also, please go ahead and try. Mataji, would you like to unmute and recite, Mataji?
Hare Krishna. Jara marana mokshaya mama ashrita yatyantiye te brahma tad viduha kratsanam adhyatman krishnam adhyatmanam karma chaikilam. 7.30 also.
Yes, Mataji. Jara marana mokshaya mama shitya yatantiye te brahma tadvidu kritsnam adhyatmam karma chakhilam. Yes, Mataji, please read the translation also and recite the next one also. Hare Krishna.
Actually, if someone else can read it, it will be better. I'm seeing on mobile, so it is very small. I'm not able to see the letters.
Okay.
So,
Nirja Mataji, would you like to recite, Mataji? She's here.
Yes, Mataji. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Mataji. Hare Krishna, everyone. Jara marana mokshaya mamashritya yatanti ye te brahma tad vidu krishnam adhyatmam karma chakilam sadhi bhuta. Oh, it's next one, no, Mataji? Shall I continue? Okay, Mataji.
You can continue and read the translation also, Mataji. Thank you.
Okay, Mataji. Okay. Intelligent persons who are endeavoring for liberation from old age and death take refuge in me in devotional services. They are actually Brahman because they entirely know everything about transcendental activities. Shall I read the next one also, Mataji?
Yes, Mataji, please recite.
Okay. Sadi bhutadi daivam mam Sadhi yajnam cha eviduhu prayanakale api cha mam te vidhuryukta chetasaha. Those in full consciousness of me, who know me, the Supreme Lord, to be the governing principle of the material manifestation of the demigods and of all methods of sacrifice, can understand and know me, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, even at the time of death. Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. So all these intelligent people who are endeavoring for liberation, actually, Shuddha Bhaktas, they are not even looking for liberation. What they get is Vimukti, beyond liberation also. So Shuddha Bhaktas, actually, we don't say they attained Mukti. It is Vimukti. So only way it can happen, we attain that stage is in devotional service. A person who has not practiced devotional service unto Lord Ram or Narasimhadev or Vishnu or Krishna, there is no chance of him, entering the spiritual planets or attaining the spiritual body. And there are different types of liberation also. And those in full consciousness of me, who know me, the Supreme Lord, to be the governing principle of the material man. See, those who know already all this, who have actually realized all this and can understand him, and they can actually remember him at the time of death also. Let's discuss this in more detail. See, now these are the answers given by Krishna to Arjuna's questions. So these are all in the verse actually. He says, Kim tad brahma kim adhyatmam kim karma purushottama adhibhutam cha kim proktam adi daivam kim uchyate. He's saying what is Brahman? Brahman is Jiva, indestructible living entity. No one can destroy the soul. That is Brahman, spirit. Adhyatma, controller of the body, nature of the Jiva, self. Karma means fruitive activities, actions leading to another body. Adibhuta, material manifestation, material nature. Adideva is the supreme demigod, universal form which includes all the demigods. That is Adideva. Adiyagna is the enjoyer of the sacrifice, who is none other than Paramatma, who is sitting in the heart. He is right next to the soul. Soul and super soul. They are always together. Where does Adiyagna reside? In the heart of all living entities. How to remember Krishna at the time of death? Practice remembrance throughout life. It is just like an exam. We cannot suddenly study, overnight. If tomorrow is the exam, we do that many times. But that also happens after attending the school. Entire year we are sitting in the classroom, writing different all kind of tests, and then answering the quiz that teacher gives every now and then. So some preparation is happening there also. So if we have to remember Krishna at the time of death, we have to practice remembering in throughout our life. That's the only way. Let's see now. Who is going to recite this one? Hare Krishna. Anjali Mataji said she's on the phone. Neeraja Mataji, would you like to try? Mataji, would you like to recite? Hare
Okay,
Krishna?
okay, I will read. Shri
You can.
Bhagavanuvacha Aksharam Brahma Paramam Svabhavodhyatma Muchyate Bhuta Bhavodbhava Karo Visargaha Karma Saddhitaha. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, the indestructible, transcendental living entity is called Brahman, and his eternal nature is called Adhyatma, the self. Action pertaining to the development of the material bodies of the living entities is called karma or fruitive activities. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji. So Brahman refers to living entity and Para-Brahman means the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Now we are all Jivatmas. We take different positions. Sometimes we merge into dark material nature and we identify with matter. Sometimes we identify with the superior spiritual nature. That is why we are all called marginal energy. And according to our identification with material or spiritual energy, we'll get the body. Accordingly, we'll get a body. There are 84 lakh species of life. But in spiritual nature, there is only one body. There is no different bodies. Only in this material creation, when we are taking birth again and again, we might take one of these bodies from one of these species, 84 lakhs species of life. So according to our karma and our desire, we'll get a body. Sometimes we are humans, sometimes we are demigods also. We can become demigods also. Sometimes we are animals, sometimes we are birds. So that's how it goes. And we perform sacrifices sometimes so that we go to heavenly planets and enjoy more facilities there. We can live a long life. We can have, somaras and whatnot, right? There is many more facilities over there. But once our punya is exhausted, we come back to this earth, take another form, and then again our journey will continue. So the living entities in the purport it is given, they descend in the form of rain also. And these living entities who descend in the form of rain, they actually, enter the grains and the grains are eaten by man. And then from the man, then the woman gets, conceives the child. And then this is how the cycle goes on. So living entities, the souls are everywhere actually, even in the rain itself. That's what is given in the scriptures. Let's move on. Adhibhutam. Hare Krishna. Who is going to recite this one? Anjali Mataji, would you like to read Mataji? It's okay with you? Okay.
Adhibhutam sharo bhavaha purushchachaधिदैवतम् adhiyajñohamevatra deha deha bhrutamvara. O best of the embodied beings, the physical nature, which is constantly changing, is called Adhibhuta, the material manifestation. The universal form of the Lord, which includes all the demigods, like those of the sun and moon, is called Adhidaiva. And I, the Supreme Lord, represented as Supersoul in the heart of every embodied being, am called Adhiyajna, the Lord of sacrifice. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji. So Adhibhuta, the physical nature is constantly changing. Change is constant. Material bodies go through 6 stages. The body is born, we are born, and then the body grows, and then it remains for some time. It produces some byproducts, it dwindles and then vanishes. So this is happening. Physical nature is Adhibhuta, which is created and annihilated. Then what is Adidaiva? Adidaiva, the conception of the universal form. It's a conception, that's all. Universal form is not eternal, like we discussed that day. It is not something that it's always there. It just like how Lord Krishna showed the universal form. That's how it is. It is not an eternal form. So the conception of the universal form, which includes all the demigods and their different planets, everything, that is Aditya. Then what is Adi Yagna? The super soul. We discussed that. And the Adi Yagna is seated beside the individual soul. What does Adi Yagna do? Is a witness of all our activities. Then see, our soul, we have consciousness. The source of that consciousness is Paramatma. So is the source of the soul's consciousness. That's what the Adi Yagna is doing actually. He witnesses all our activities. Then he gives us the opportunity to act freely. We have this little freedom. We can act freely. And then he just witnesses. He allows and witnesses. And it's according to us, what we want to desire, what karma we are actually building, and how much enthusiasm we have to actually achieve, self-realization or understand the absolute truth. All this is up to us. But only a pure Krishna conscious devotee can understand all the functions of all these different manifestations of the Supreme Lord, and such a person can actually, progress faster. Otherwise, for a beginner, they actually want to understand how great God is, how great the Lord is. So for neophytes, it's written in the purport, what they do is they contemplate on the greatness of the Lord. There's a gigantic universal form. They feel like, wow, God is so great, because they are neophytes. An advanced devotee means he has loving relationship with the Lord. For neophytes, this is how it is. They compare all the lower planets are considered, as his legs. They compare it like that. And then his legs are considered as lower planets, and the eyes are considered as sun and moon, and his head is compared to the upper planetary systems. Like that, they feel, wow, God is really great. That's for the neophytes. Remembering Krishna at the time of death. One attains whatever one remembers at the time of death. It's very important to remember this point. Krishna recommends Arjuna to undeviatingly meditate on him, dedicate his activities to him, and thus attain him. So this is what we are supposed to do. He's not saying quit all your work, give up all the prescribed duties, and just sit and chant. That's not what Krishna is actually saying. See, whatever we do, we're supposed to think about him all the time. So bring Krishna into all our activities. So undeviatingly meditate on him, dedicate our activities to him, and then we can surely attain him. This is also a very important verse. Mataji, would you like to recite, Mataji? Hare Krishna.
Antakale cha mameva smarunmukta kalevaram yaha prayati samadbhavam yati nastyatra samshayaha. And whoever at the time of death quits his body, remembering me alone, at once attains my nature. Of this there is no doubt. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. So in this verse, the importance of Krishna consciousness is stressed. Anyone who quits his body thinking of Krishna and Krishna consciousness at once attains the transcendental nature of the Supreme Lord. Again, Smaran, remember. For an impure person, why this is stressed so much is, for an impure person, it is not easy to remember Krishna. Forget at the time of death, even during the day also, he cannot remember. So a person who has never practiced, never chanted, who never practiced devotional service to Krishna, it's not going to happen at the time of death. So the Supreme Lord is the purest of the pure, and anyone who is thinking constantly about him, he'll also become pure. So what are we supposed to do from the very early part of our life, right from childhood, as soon as possible? This should be inculcated in our, system. We have to constantly think about the Lord. We have to chant. This becomes very, very important. And there will be obstacles. Obviously, there will be obstacles. Anyone who wants to take up devotional service, he has to face so many things because Maya is very strong. Our association, people who are surrounding us, and then there's so many distractions in the society. All these are going to be a lot of, it takes a lot of effort to overcome all that. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says we have to be very tolerant as a tree. We have to be tolerant and continue to chant. We have this example of Prahlad Maharaj. He was being, tortured every day. Even then, he didn't give up. So that was extreme, right? We are not facing such a situation where somebody is actually waiting to kill us. But still, we say we don't have time. that work is there, this work is there. Somebody doesn't want me to chant, so I have to hide and chant. All these challenges are there. But still, we tolerate, don't give up Krishna. Then Krishna says, there is no doubt about it. So it's like we are preparing ourselves for the exam. Mataji recite this one, Mataji, Hare Krishna. Will you be able to recite, Mataji? Anjali Mataji. Or Neha Mataji, others also please try. Yes, Mataji, if you can, please go ahead. Hare Krishna.
Which shloka is this, Mataji?
It's okay. The verse
Actually, I'm
number is
reading
not
from the
there.
book because I cannot see on
8.5. Is it 8.6? Just check, Mataji. Ahani ani bhutani gachantiha yamalayam.
Though somebody else may go for this, please.
Okay. Neha Mataji, would you like to try, Mataji?
Yeah, sure, Mataji.
Okay.
Hare Krishna. Ahani bhutani gachanti yamalama sheshasthavaram ichhati kim ashcharam athaparam. Mataji, translation as well.
Yes, Mataji. Translation also.
Hundreds and thousands of living entities meet death at every moment, but a foolish living being nonetheless thinks himself deathless and does not prepare for death. This is the most wonderful thing in the world. I'm very sorry, Mataji, for the disturbance.
No problem, Mataji. Thank you, Mataji. So, Ahani ani bhutani gachantiha yamalayam. So, what is it saying here? This is happening to everyone. We make plans for the entire year, sometimes next 10 years or next 50 years also. We talk about retirement plans and old age and everything. So, we wake up and we are not in that consciousness where we are thinking today might be the last day, or maybe next few hours might be the last moment. We don't know. We never think like that. So, hundreds and thousands of living entities meet death every moment. Every minute, so many people are dying. But, never think. But a foolish living being, nonetheless, thinks himself deathless. We plan as if we are going to be eternal, and does not prepare for it. Whenever are we preparing? Only after coming to Krishna consciousness, we understand Bhagavad Gita is not just about this world. It is what will happen to us after we give up this body. So this is eternal knowledge that tells us where we are going to go next birth. We don't have that information. We should know where we are going, what's going to happen to us. We are going to be pushed into another yoni, into another mother's womb, and we are not going to be given a chance. Based on our desires and karma, we'll just be pushed. That's it. Like how Lord Krishna, he can appear wherever he wants. We don't have that facility. So this is the most wonderful thing in this world. This story is from Mahabharata. Yudhishthira Maharaj was once very thirsty. They were all thirsty. He sent Nakul and he sent all his brothers one by one. He said, please go get water. First Nakul went. There was this yaksha. He said, this pond belongs to me. If you want to take water, please answer my questions. He didn't care. He drank and the water became poison, just like how the yaksha said. He fell dead. One by one, all the Pandavas died like this only. Then no one returned. Then Yudhishthira Maharaj himself went, and then he was ready to answer the questions. He answered all the questions, and one of the questions was this: what's the most amazing thing? And then Yudhishthira Maharaj said, the most fascinating thing is that humans are mortals. Everybody goes about their life as if, they're going to be here forever. And, mm, that's the thought process. So after hearing this, the Yaksha was very pleased and all the brothers were brought back to life. So how can we die in a proper state of mind? This chapter actually teaches that. How do we change our state of being at the end of our life? The only process, only practice is chanting. There's another story, I think Birbal, there was this person, a Brahmana, who came and said, he knew so many languages. Nobody could guess what is his mother tongue. I think you must have heard about all this, but still. So then he says, guess my mother tongue. Then everybody's like, it's so hard because he's so fluent in so many languages. What do we do now? So what Birbal does is, in middle of the night, he will go and trouble him. When you are in trouble, what comes out of your mouth is what is something that you have been practicing for too long. That's how it is. And mother tongue is something that is there in us, because right from the time of birth until death, we are using the same language. So it's very easy. So at that time, I think he gives him hot milk and he puts his finger in it or something he does to trouble him. He's in out of shock or something. This person will speak in Bengali. Then next day, Birbal will tell your mother tongue is Bengali. Like that. The point is, whatever we are practicing, every day, those words only will come at the time of death when you are in lot of pain. Suddenly we cannot say Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. So we can see today's generation, they are not using proper English also. The way they speak, there are a lot of junk words, very not good language. That's how it is. But imagine, and now Bhagavad Gita is teaching us, we are supposed to be practicing the Lord's name. So how important this information is. Hare Krishna Mataji. Who is going to recite this one? Preet Prabhu
Hare
is
Krishna
there.
Mataji.
Then, yeah, others also please. Yes, Mataji, please go ahead.
May I recite?
Yes, Mataji.
Yama yama vapi smarana bhavam tyajate ante kale varam tama tama eva iti kaunteya sada tad bhava bhavitaha. Whatever state of being one remembers, when he quits his body, O son of Kunti, that state he will attain without fail.
Hare Krishna Mataji. Thank you, Mataji. Yam yam vapi. If there is a line on A, that means vapi. You have to drag that. Yam yam vapi smaran. Remembering bhavam, that bhava, what we have. Tejati ante. Ante means last, in the last moments. Kalevaram, the body. Tam tam evaiti kaunteya. Kaunteya is Arjuna. Sada tad bhava bhavitaha. Whatever state of being one remembers when he quits his body, that state will attain without fail. But we can see so many old people who are dying. They are worried about their will. They are worried about this and that, and this, who is going to take my property? How do I decide this? And I have these desires. My desire is not fulfilled. I want to go on a vacation. It never happened. They have a big bucket list only. So then what will happen? All these unfulfilled desires are haunting them. Definitely they are not going anywhere. They will come back to another body. And if the desire is very, very bad, they can become an animal, get into an animal's body also. So it's very dangerous actually. Like example is Maharaj Bharat. At the time of death, he had this affection for the deer. He was thinking about the deer. So in the next birth, he got a deer's body. So all our thoughts during the course of our lifetime will accumulate, and that will influence our thoughts at the time of death. So this life will create next life. So this present will create future, just like that. So we must chant. Again, Bharat Maharaj. So we have to practice the 9 stages of the 9 process of bhakti also. And then he had reached the bhava stage. What does that mean? There are 9 stages of bhakti. Shraddha, sadhu sangha, association. Shraddha means faith. We have faith, some faith. That's why we come to Krishna consciousness. Sadhu sangha, then we associate with devotees. Then there's bhajana kriya. Then there is performance of devotional service. That is bhajana kriya. Then we sing kirtans, chant here, everything we do. Then there is anartha nivrutti, decreasing of unwanted attachments, unwanted desires, all this anartha nivrutti. Then nishtha means then we become steady in our devotional service. Then we develop a taste, ruchi. Then we start liking it. We develop so much taste that everything looks pale in front of it. Then we have asakti, attachment. Then bhava. He had reached the stage of bhava, love. And the final stage is prema, pure love for Krishna, which is very important and not easy to attain. Please recite this one, Mataji.
Hare Krishna Mataji. Tasmat sarveshu kaleshu mama anusmara yudhya cha maye arpita mano buddhir mama evasya asamsasya sayasha. Therefore, Arjuna, you should always think of me in the form of Krishna and at the same time carry out your prescribed duty of fighting. With your activities, dedicated to me, and your mind and intelligence fixed on me, you will attain me without doubt. Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna Mataji. Tasmat means therefore. This tasmat word will come in so many verses. Sarveshu kaleshu means kaleshu all the time. Sarveshu kaleshu all the time think about me. Mam means himself. He's talking about himself. So this mom means Krishna only, me. Anusmara vidyacha means he's saying at the same time carry out your prescribed duty of fighting. So think of me in the form of Krishna, at the same time carry out your prescribed duty of fighting. He's not saying think about me and then fight, or fight and then think about me. No, the instruction is very clear. You perform your duty, go ahead and fight, but keep thinking about me. With your activities dedicated to me, the fruit of the activity is dedicated to Krishna. So in the end, we understand why he is doing what he's doing. Arjuna understands he is a soul, and this is the Supreme talking to him. Our duty is that we have to satisfy the Lord only. Whatever the Lord wants, he wants to do. So he'll understand that I have to fight because it is Krishna's will. He wants me to fight, and then all he wants to do is serve the Lord, nothing else. That is why he will fight. And then he says, if you do this thinking about me, you dedicate this activity to me, and with your mind and intelligence fixed on me, you will attain me without doubt. We are all doing material activities. Everything is a material activity. Every day, cooking, serving your family, and then everything, whatever we do. If we want to make that as a spiritual activity, what are we supposed to do? We are supposed to dedicate the activity to Krishna. Like, simple thing is like when you can offer. We cannot follow the strict rules that are followed in the temple. In temple, you see from 4:30 till night, they have a lot of rules that the way they worship the deities. We cannot do that. What we can do, offering bhoga, which is possible actually, at least 1 or 2 bhogas we can offer, and that becomes sanctified food. Once you offer it to Krishna and offer it to the rest of the people, since their consciousness starts changing, prasad is very, very powerful. We say no, the child is not behaving. There's so much. There's no peace in the house. We can start like this. I heard from a senior devotee, just by eating prasad, that can bring peace into our situation and the surroundings. So that also is very important. Like this, we can keep chanting, we can offer something to Krishna, and everything we do, we can do with that consciousness, thinking that the house belongs to Krishna. I'm just living there because he has provided me a house. So how should we behave? If we have rented a house and there's an owner who is constantly watching, we'll make sure we clean the house properly, and then we are very, very careful. Same way, if Krishna is there in the house and it belongs to him, the entire material world belongs to him. So we have to be very careful. It does not belong to us. We're going to give up this body, give up this maybe planet also, and go to another planet. We don't know. So we have to be very careful. So think about Krishna, like how Prahlad Maharaj, he was teaching his friends also. You have to chant, you have to sing. This life is not to be wasted. He was just 5 years old. Then we'll be transferred to the spiritual world. Or if we are very perfect, if we achieve perfection, we may reach Goloka Vrindavan also. Yes, Mataji, please recite this one. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Abhyasa yoga yuktena seta gamina paramam purusham divyam yati parthano chintayana. He who meditates on me as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, his mind constantly engaged in remembering me, undeviated from the path, he, O Partha, is sure to reach me.
Hare Krishna. So what happens even by accident, at the time of death, we take Narayana, Krishna, Rama, any one of these names. Our elders used to do that. Every time there is something, they say Rama, Rama, Krishna, Krishna only. Today's generation is not like that. They say some junk words. So they knew the importance of, reciting. We know this is Ajamila actually. At the time of death, we know that he was calling his son, Narayana, Narayana, where are you? Come here, save me, something like that. Then what happened? Vishnu Dutas arrived. Because he was calling Narayana, Narayana is Vishnu, so they arrived to take him back. That's how powerful the Lord's name is. Even by mistake, if we chant, we'll get full benefit. Okay, just once, it says, even if once, if you can take Rama's name or Krishna's name, that is very, very powerful. How can just once, we're all chanting 16 times. How can once also be so powerful? This doubt arises. So somebody, in one of the lectures, some senior devotee was saying, it is like you take a cart load or a lorry full of some kind of a garbage, and you take one little tiny drop of kasturi, the perfume. Kasturi comes from the kasturi mruga. How can this one drop equate that? That is like 100 tons. This is just one little drop. There's no equality there. No, we cannot compare this to that. Just like that, one name of the Lord is so potent. Everything else is garbage. So it's very, very powerful. We have to chant. What happens is, as we are chanting, it's like mystic meditation. That's actually meditation what we are doing. If you keep on chanting, it's like yoga practice. Because meditation means meditation on the super soul within. So here by chanting, we are actually fixing our mind will slowly be dragged to. Sometimes we have to engage our mind forcefully. How do we do that? By this. Forcefully, we have to make sure the mind thinks of Krishna, because mind is very fickle and it's not easy to control the mind. So this is the way to control the mind. So if you know the object of worship, people are worshipping different things. Like Prabhuji says, we are all serving something at any given point of time. We are serving someone or something. We are serving our boss. We are serving our children. We're serving the pets. We're serving all the time, because that's how it is. Love means service. So that's what we are doing actually. So if you want to attain Krishna, what are we supposed to do? Serve him and love him only. So, and unless and until we have that love for Krishna, it is not easy to remember him all the time. See, for a mother, remembering her child is so easy, because she has that love for the child. So unless and until we develop that love for Krishna, not easy to remember him all the time. So we have to constantly chant. Krishna sitting inside himself will reveal himself to us. Lord Krishna stresses on importance of remembering him by practice. Importance of remembering Krishna. This refutes the need to give up prescribed duty to remember Krishna. Refutes inactivity. Spiritual life doesn't mean inactivity. There is a lot of work. Once we leave this body and say we really attain spiritual body and go back to Vaikuntha Lokas or Goloka Vrindana, there is a lot of work. It's not like we just go sit there and with that impersonalists, they want to merge with the Brahma Jyoti. So only they attain that, but they also fall down. Actually, that is not an eternal place. How to think of Krishna in practical life? In practical life, constant thinking of the Supreme Lord in any of his features is possible by chanting Hare Krishna. Practice is purifying, and at the end of life, one transfers to kingdom of God. The more we chant, all the anarthas will go. And we can see from externally, we can only make out some things are changing in us also, in our surroundings also. Some things start changing. So it is very, very purifying. It's like removing the dirt from clothes, put soap and keep on rubbing. The dirt will go eventually if it is, the detergent is strong enough. It is like that. The anarthas will go. There is another example also. One roar by lion, can all the lion animals run away. If the lion roars once loudly, all these little tiny animals, they run far away. They may run 1 kilometer also. So like that, one name of the Lord will, remove these anarthas from the heart. They just run from our heart. So it's very powerful. Most effective way to remember Krishna. Chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Revival of memory of Krishna. Love for Krishna is already there in the heart. Just that we have forgotten. Ear, tongue, and mind are engaged in Krishna's service. Attain Supreme Lord and his planet. Analogy given is caterpillar to butterfly. So, see, by chanting, our ears, tongue, mind, everything is engaged in Krishna's service. So all our senses, everything, we are giving work, because soul is very active. It's not going to be quiet, and mind also needs something to do. We cannot say, I'll just quieten down my mind. I'll go sit in a corner and say, I'll not have any thoughts, or just watch my thoughts, or whatever. Mind, it needs something to do. Our senses need activities. Lord is the real enjoyer, confirms Lord as a person, recommends meditating on Lord's form as a person. So Krishna is saying, how do you meditate on me? How do you think about me? How do you remember me? Meditate on me the way I am. He's a person. So relationship is between two living entities, right? We are all life force and he is also the same. So there is a relationship between us and the Lord. So he has a form. He says how he looks. He is actually, descended to show us how actually he looks in reality. So we can meditate on him the way he looks. So it's easy. We cannot just meditate on some candle or some light or something. That's not going to happen. We need to focus on the Lord as he looks. Remembering Krishna, practice remembrance through meditation. By meditating on Krishna and his qualities, or by practicing Yoga Mishra Bhakti, one can think of Supreme Personality of Godhead when quitting the body and reach the spiritual planets. So these are the qualities of the Lord. So who would like to recite this one? Kavim Puranam Anushasitaram. This all says what are the qualities of Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Mataji, may I recite?
Yes, Mataji, sure.
Kavim Puranam Anushasitaram Anora Aniyam Sam Anusmaradeyaha Sarvasya Dataram Achintya Rupam Aditya Varanam Tamasam Parastat. One should meditate upon the Supreme Person as the one who knows everything, as he who is the oldest, who is the controller, who is smaller than the smallest, who is the maintainer of everything, who is beyond all material conception, who is unconceivable, and who is always a person. He is luminous like the sun, and he is transcendental beyond this material nature. Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna Mataji. Some verses the meter changes because every verse has a number of aksharas are there. In this there are more. So like for instance in the previous one, you see which was the one we did. Oh God, I have to go back so much here. Abhyasa yoga yuktena chetasa nanya paramam purusham divyam yati parthanu chintayan. Like that we can say. But here, see, there are more letters in this verse. We cannot use the same tune here. So, what we do, the tune changes. Kavim Puranam Anushasitaram Anoraniyam Shamanusmaredyaha Sarvasya Dhataramachintya Rupam Aditya Varnam Tamasa Parastat. Like that. The tune changes because of the letters involved. So here it is, there is a slide where we get meaning of each and every word given in this verse. So let's go to that slide. See, it says, Kavim. What does Kavim mean? Kavi means he knows everything. He knows the past, the present, and the future. So he knows everything. That is the Lord. Then Puranam, all born out of him. That means he is the origin of everything. Everything is born out of the Lord himself. So he's a supreme controller of the universe. The controller. He is the controller. Anushasitaram. Anor Aniyamsam means Anu means atom, right? Anor Aniyamsam. Smaller than the smallest. It's smaller than the smallest. Imagine the soul is so small. We can't even look at the soul. We know the size of the soul from second chapter. So he's so tiny. He can become smaller than the smallest. Prabhupada says, you see these worms running around, right? To our naked eye, we can see some round worms, round insects. They're so tiny. He says they are smaller than the full stop, the period. And imagine there is Lord inside that. There's a soul inside that. So that's how it is. Dhataram, the maintainer. He maintains everyone. Rupam, always a person. He's a person and is inconceivable. Means achintya. Achintya means who is beyond the material world, who is beyond our argument, logic, philosophical speculation, everything. It's inconceivable. Achintya. And he's all pervading. His energy is beyond our conception. beyond our thinking capacity. Inconceivable. Aditya Varnam, luminous like the sun. And then Tamasa Parastat, transcendental beyond the material nature. So we wonder how all these planets are floating in the air, how so many things are happening like clockwork, sunrises. We know very confident we are. When we are going to bed, we know tomorrow morning sun will rise because it's happening. And people are predicting also. They predict earthquakes also. It's like that. Everything happens so beautifully, as if somebody has programmed it. How does all this happen? Krishna says he is sustaining all these big planets, all these different systems of galaxies. So our material world is actually very insignificant compared to what really exists. So it's beyond our intelligence. So if a person is very intelligent, what does he do? He will immediately take up to, devotional service, and he'll understand what is the Acharya saying, what are these great people like Madhvacharya, Ramanujacharya, and all these great Acharyas, what are they saying? They are very great. We should not be doubting them. We are wasting time. If we start doubting all these great Acharyas and great spiritual masters who have descended to give us this information, then we are just wasting time. So what should they do? Stop argument, speculation, and accept what the scriptures tell us. They don't waste 1 minute also. They just accept, like Prabhupada accepted whatever his guru taught him, like that. So they read the scriptures, try to understand Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam from the guru, and then they make quick progress. Okay. Here, this is an example, everyone is meditating on Lord Vishnu, all the pure, exalted devotees, Brahma, all of them. This is Shiva, he's also meditating. And then in 10th canto, we know Brahma offers prayers to the Lord. He says, you are Brahma Samhita. You all must have heard Brahma Samhita. He says, Krishna is the supreme. And then in the 4th canto and 8th canto, Lord Shiva teaches Mother Sati. He glorifies Krishna. So he teaches Prachetas also, the glories of Krishna. And then sometimes Vishnu gives direct darshan to Brahma. Sometimes he gives information into his heart. The information is relayed. So he understands what he's supposed to do. All the answers come. And this situation is when Mother Earth, in the form of cow, Mother Earth was actually not happy. She wanted a solution. There were too many asuras, and she was very, sad. So she approached Lord Brahma. So there's a protocol. You go to the manager. Manager will approach his manager. Then he'll go to the management. You cannot directly go to the Lord Krishna. So they follow that Vaishnava etiquette. When she approaches Brahma, and then all the other devotees, all the demigods and Lord Shiva, everyone, they all access Kshirodakshai Vishnu. And they ask him, this is what is happening. Mother Earth, she needs some help. What do we do? Then Brahma will receive the information saying that I'm personally going there. So no need to worry. And then all his crew, he prepares. Whenever an important person is traveling to some place, he will take all his important stuff with him. Like, this famous, there were so many famous singers. Like Michael Jackson used to take his own stuff with him, his own mic, his own music set, everything. They don't just go and use whatever is provided. And they go with their own crew. They have a team, they take that team only. Then do not go there and hire some other team. It's like that they have their own plan, right? Like how president moves around with bodyguards and all this important crew. And then Krishna also descends with all his intimate associates. So he says, I'm coming. So, and he gives out instruction to all the demigods, please go and appear in Gokul and other places, Vrindavan. And they say yes, sir. And they all follow his instructions. So that's how it works. Okay, we'll do 2-3 more slides and then stop. We can continue with the next class. This also has too many letters. Prayana kale manasa chalena bhaktya yukto yoga balena chaiva bhror madhye pranam avesha samyak satam param purusham upayeti divyam. Does anyone want to recite this? You can recite actually.
One who
Okay,
at the time of death fixes his life's hair between the eyebrows and by the strength of yoga with an undeviating mind, engages himself in remembering the Supreme Lord in full devotion, will certainly attain to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna Mataji. So at the time of death, what we are supposed to fix our mind in devotion. But a person who's practicing yoga, they raise their life force. We know these yogis, they work hard to get that kind of strength, and they raise their life force between the eyebrows to the Agna chakra. Then they do Shat chakra yoga. This involves meditation on all the 6 chakras. It is not easy. All this is, we can say, oh, there are books available, gurus are available. They are not easy to perform. So a pure devotee, what does he do? He does not practice such difficult yoga. He engages himself in Lord's service directly in Krishna consciousness. So at the time of death, he can easily get the Lord's mercy. So yoga balena means we have to practice yoga. Suddenly we cannot say, I'll become a yogi at the time of death. So like this, since our mind at death cannot meditate so easily, we should practice transcendence through yoga throughout our life, especially the system of Bhakti Yoga. Okay. Brahman, Paramatma, Bhagavan. Persons who are learned in the Vedas, who utter Omkara, and who are great sages in the renounced order, enter into Brahman. Desiring such perfection, one practices celibacy. I shall now briefly explain to you this process by which one. Sorry, the letters are missing. Okay. So what is Krishna saying? So the Brahman has several manifestations and features. So for impersonalists, they do say Omkara, is the syllable Om. This is identical with Brahman. Brahman is Krishna. In the Vedic system, what happens? The students, right from the beginning, they are taught to chant Om, Om, Om. They chant Om, and then the spiritual master gives them a lot of activities. So they have to follow all the rules, and then they have to be in celibacy. They have to practice celibacy. We call anyone a brahmachari today. If somebody is not married, we call that person brahmachari. But those kind of brahmacharis are not available today, because the student who practices celibacy, he is very pure. He won't even be thinking about the opposite sex. Very, 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 very pure life he would be leading. So that kind of life is not possible in today's society, and there are no institutions that will teach also. Educate the student to become a pakka brahmachari following brahmachari principles. We see there's so much contamination in the world. So this is Kali Yuga, and that's how it's going to be. That's why Lord Chaitanya says there is no other process of realizing the Supreme except chanting the holy names of Lord Krishna, which is actually easy and can be done. The yogic situation is that of detachment from all sensual engagements, closing all the doors of the senses and fixing the mind on the heart and the life air at the top of the head. One establishes himself in yoga. They want to, leave the body. The soul can leave the body from different places. So they want to leave the body from the Brahmarandra, so there's a process. It's a very difficult process. And here they're talking about pratyahara, where close all the doors of sense enjoyment, withdraw all the senses from sense enjoyment. Sense enjoyment is there actually. There is some sound coming, there's some fragrance, there is, how it is. These things are very attractive. But though it is there, you have to shut down all the sense enjoyment. These are all not easy things. So that's why they go to the forest to do all this. Then what will happen after this? The sense organs for acquiring knowledge, all these eyes, ears, nose, touch, all these are completely controlled. They completely control all these senses. No sense gratification is happening at that point. So the mind is focused only on the super soul, and the life force is raised to the top of the head, which is not practical in today's age. All this not at all practical. The best process is Bhakti Yoga or Krishna consciousness. Krishna consciousness, Prabhupada and all the acharyas give us instructions which you can actually follow. After being situated in this yoga practice and vibrating the sacred syllable Om, the supreme combination of letters, if one thinks of the supreme personality of Godhead, quits his body, he will certainly reach the spiritual planet. So Om, Brahman and Lord Krishna, they're all not different. The impersonal sound of Krishna Om, Hare Krishna, they are all same. So there's no difference. So the devotees of Krishna enter Goloka Vrindavana, and the personalists, who know the Lord is a personal person and who meditate on him and worship him as a person, they can reach Vaikuntha planets in the spiritual sky. Impersonalists will remain in Brahmajyoti. So practice of Yoga Mishra Bhakti describes Yoga Mishra Bhakti. All these practices assist yogis in remembering Krishna. They are not end in themselves. Okay. Like raise life air to Agna Chakra, Rishak Chakra Yoga, chant Om, and then renounce sense gratification, especially sex life, fix mind on heart. They're all Yoga Mishra Bhakti Yoga. This is Yoga Mishra Bhakti. Fix mind in devotion to the Supreme Lord at death. Okay, so this is where we ended last time. So I think because we finished half the chapter, we can do the rest in the next chapter. There are more to be next class. We'll do the rest of the chapter. So I'll stop